General Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of her command ship looking out at the stars. She had been in space for 20 years fighting wars and keeping peace between different worlds. Now she faced her biggest challenge yet. The blue-skinned aliens called the Corvani Empire wanted to meet with humans for the first time. They said they wanted peace and trade deals. Lisa commanded the 7th Human Space Fleet with over 50 ships and 30,000 soldiers. She was known for being smart in battle and fair in peace talks. Her crew respected her because she always brought them home safe. Today felt different, though. The Corvani had sent strange messages asking for this meeting on a planet called Nexus Prime. The planet was neutral ground between human and alien space. It had thick green forests and clear blue skies. The Corvani picked this place and set all the rules for the meeting. They said Lisa could only bring 12 soldiers with her. Any more would be seen as an attack. Lisa did not like this rule, but she wanted peace more than anything. Captain Jake Morrison would lead her small guard team. He was young but brave and had saved her life twice in past battles. His Marines were the best fighters in the fleet. They trained every day and never gave up in a fight. Lisa trusted them with her life, but 12 men seemed too few for a first meeting with aliens. These Corvani messages said their leader, High Commander Zethkari, would meet Lisa personally. He claimed to speak for his entire empire and could make binding deals. The aliens sent pictures showing they were tall and blue with sharp teeth and claws. Their technology looked advanced with energy weapons and fast ships. Lisa studied everything about them but still felt like she was missing important details. Her ship stayed hidden behind the system's largest moon, while she took a small shuttle down to the planet. The Marine guards wore light armor and carried basic weapons. Lisa dressed in her best uniform with all her medals showing her rank and experience. She wanted the aliens to know they were dealing with someone important who had earned respect through years of service. The landing site was a large clearing in the middle of a dense forest. Ancient trees grew hundreds of feet tall, blocking out most of the sunlight. Strange alien birds made weird sounds from the branches above. The air smelled different here, like flowers mixed with something metallic. Lisa felt like she was being watched from the moment she stepped off the shuttle. Zethkari waited in the center of the clearing with 20 alien soldiers. He stood nearly 8 feet tall with bright blue skin and yellow eyes that seemed to glow. His voice was deep and rough when he spoke in broken human language. He wore decorated armor that looked both beautiful and deadly. His soldiers carried weapons that hummed with energy and watched the humans with suspicious eyes. The alien leader greeted Lisa with what seemed like respect. He bowed slightly and spoke about honor and peace between their peoples. But Lisa noticed how his soldiers positioned themselves around the clearing. They blocked all the escape routes and kept their hands near their weapons. Something felt wrong about this meeting, but Lisa had to try for peace. They set up a table in the middle of the clearing with chairs for both leaders. Zethkari brought out documents written in alien symbols that made Lisa's eyes hurt to look at. He spoke about trade routes and shared planets where both species could live together. Lisa listened carefully and asked questions about territorial boundaries and military agreements. Hours passed as they talked about different topics. The alien leader seemed friendly enough, but Lisa noticed he never gave straight answers to important questions. When she asked about human safety in Corvani space, he would change the subject. When she mentioned visiting their home worlds, he would talk about other things instead. Captain Morrison and his Marines stayed alert, watching for any signs of trouble. The sun began to set behind the tall trees, casting long shadows across the clearing. Lisa suggested they continue talks the next day, but Zethkari insisted they finish tonight. He brought out more documents and started talking faster. His soldiers moved closer to their positions around the humans. Lisa felt the trap closing, but could not figure out how to escape without starting a war. Zethkari suddenly stood up and pointed at Lisa with one long blue finger. His voice became angry as he accused her of breaking sacred Corvani laws. He said human ships had violated their holy spaces during the journey to this planet. Lisa protested that no one had told her about any restricted areas. She pulled out star charts showing the route her ships had taken, but the alien leader would not listen. The alien soldiers raised their weapons as Zethkari declared the peace talks over. He said Lisa and her Marines were criminals who would face Corvani justice. Hidden alien fighters emerged from the forest surrounding the clearing. Captain Morrison shouted orders to his men, but they were outnumbered 5-1. Energy bolts lit up the darkening sky as the battle began. Lisa watched helplessly as her brave Marines fought against impossible odds. Morrison took down 3 aliens before an energy blast knocked him unconscious. The other soldiers fought with everything they had, but more aliens kept coming from the trees. Within minutes, most of her guards were dead or captured. The few survivors were badly wounded and could barely stand. Alien hands grabbed Lisa from behind as she tried to reach Morrison's fallen body. Energy restraints burned her wrists as they tied her hands behind her back. Zethkari walked over with a cruel smile on his blue face. He explained that she would face public shame before they executed her for crimes against the Corvani Empire. The alien leader seemed to enjoy telling her how they would broadcast her death across the galaxy to show what happened to humans who crossed them. The energy restraints burned Lisa's wrists as the Corvani soldiers dragged her across the clearing. She could smell her own flesh burning but refused to cry out in pain. Zethkari walked beside her, speaking in his harsh alien language to his soldiers. They laughed at whatever he was saying while pointing at her with their clawed fingers. Captain Morrison lay unconscious near the overturned negotiation table. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead, but Lisa could see his chest rising and falling. 3 other Marines were still alive but barely moving. The aliens had killed the rest of her brave soldiers without mercy. Their bodies lay scattered around the clearing like broken toys. Zethkari stopped in front of Lisa and grabbed her chin with his blue hand. His yellow eyes glowed in the darkness as he spoke in broken human language. He told her the trap had been planned for months. The Corvani Empire never wanted peace with humans. They wanted to capture a high-ranking officer to study human military tactics and technology. The alien leader explained that human expansion into this part of the galaxy threatened their territory. The Corvani had been watching human colonies and military movements for years. They knew Lisa commanded one of the most powerful human fleets. By capturing her, they could learn human weaknesses and plan future attacks on human worlds. Lisa realized she had been foolish to trust the alien messages about peace talks. Her desire to avoid war had made her walk straight into their trap. She should have brought more soldiers or insisted on meeting in human space. Now her people would pay the price for her mistake. The thought of human colonies being attacked because of her failure made her sick. The aliens set up a temporary camp in the clearing using strange glowing tents that appeared from nowhere. Their technology was more advanced than human intelligence, had reported. Energy barriers surrounded the camp that would stop any rescue attempt. Guard towers sprouted from the ground in minutes with aliens manning powerful weapons that could shoot down any approaching ships. Zethkari ordered his soldiers to strip Lisa of her uniform jacket and medals. They searched her carefully for hidden weapons or communication devices. The aliens found her sidearm and scanning equipment, but missed the tiny distress beacon sewn into her collar. The beacon was designed to activate automatically when her stress hormones reached dangerous levels. They dragged her to the center of the camp where a massive tree grew. The ancient trunk was covered in alien markings that looked like battle scars. Zethkari explained that this was a sacred Corvani execution tree where they killed their greatest enemies. Hundreds of alien criminals and enemy soldiers had died here over the centuries. Soon Lisa would join them. The alien soldiers brought out ceremonial ropes made from some kind of energy that glowed blue in the darkness. They wrapped the ropes around Lisa's body, binding her tightly to the rough bark of the tree. The energy burned through her uniform, leaving painful marks on her skin. She gritted her teeth and refused to give them the satisfaction of hearing her scream. Zethkari activated a communication array that projected a large screen in front of the tree. He began broadcasting live images of Lisa tied to the execution tree across all Corvani space. Alien voices could be heard cheering from dozens of different worlds as they watched the captured human general. The broadcast would also be sent to human space as a warning. Dozens of Corvani soldiers gathered around the tree to watch Lisa's humiliation. They spoke in their harsh language, making jokes about weak humans. Some threw small stones at her feet, while others spat alien curses. They seemed to be enjoying themselves as they prepared for the execution ceremony that would happen at dawn. Lisa studied her captors, looking for any weakness she could exploit. The guards changed positions every hour, but always kept, at least, 6 soldiers watching her. Their weapons were always charged and ready to fire. The energy ropes binding her to the tree would electrocute her if she tried to break free. Escape seemed impossible without help. Hours passed as more aliens arrived. At the camp for the execution ceremony, Lisa could hear the sound of alien aircraft landing in the forest beyond the clearing. Zethkari seemed very pleased with himself as he directed the preparations. He kept looking at Lisa and smiling his cruel alien smile while giving orders to his subordinates. The alien leader approached Lisa again as the night grew darker. He told her that human colonies in the Outer Rim would be the first targets after her execution. The Corvani had been building a massive fleet in secret while pretending to want peace. Once they demonstrated human weakness by killing their general, the other alien races would join them in war against humanity. Lisa felt anger building inside her chest as she listened to the aliens' plans. These creatures had never wanted peace. They had used her desire to avoid bloodshed against her. Now innocent human families would die because she had been too trusting. She promised herself that if she survived this night, she would make the Corvani pay for their deception. The distress beacon in her collar had been transmitting for over an hour now. Lisa hoped Admiral Kane had received the signal and was already planning a rescue mission. Her fleet was hidden behind the outer moon, but they could reach this planet in less than 6 hours if they pushed their engines hard. The question was whether they would arrive before dawn. Zethkari brought out ancient alien weapons for the execution ceremony. The curved blades were covered in symbols and looked like they had been used many times before. He explained that tradition required the victim to be slowly tortured before the final killing blow. The ceremony would last several hours and be broadcast live to show alien superiority over humans. Lisa closed her eyes and tried to contact her fleet through pure willpower. She knew it was impossible, but she had to try something. Her people needed to know about the Corvani deception and the planned attacks on human colonies. Even if she died here tonight, her death would have meaning if it saved human lives. The ancient tree pressed against Lisa's back as the energy ropes held her in place. The rough bark cut through her torn uniform, leaving scratches on her skin. Every movement sent sharp pains through her shoulders and wrists, where the restraints burned hottest. She had stopped trying to break free hours ago when she realized the ropes would kill her before she could escape. Zethkari stood in front of the communication array, adjusting the broadcast signal. The large screen showed Lisa's image being transmitted across dozens of Corvani worlds. Alien voices cheered and made threatening sounds from the speakers. The alien leader seemed very pleased with the reaction from his people. He turned to Lisa with his yellow eyes glowing in the darkness. The alien commander explained that her execution would be the greatest moment in Corvani history. No human leader had ever been captured alive before this day. Her death would prove to the galaxy that humans were weak and could be defeated. Other alien races would see the broadcast and join the Corvani in their war against human expansion. More aliens arrived throughout the night carrying strange ceremonial items. They brought drums that made deep threatening sounds and banners covered in alien writing. Young Corvani soldiers came to stare at Lisa like she was some kind of strange animal in a cage. They pointed at her and spoke in excited voices about the famous human general. Lisa counted at least 60 aliens in the camp now, with more arriving every hour. They had brought enough weapons and equipment to fight a small war. Guard towers surrounded the clearing with energy cannons that could destroy any rescue ships. The aliens were taking no chances that humans might try to save their captured leader. Captain Morrison stirred near the overturned table where the aliens had left him. Blood covered half his face, but his eyes were alert as he looked around the camp. 2 other Marines were also conscious but badly wounded. The aliens had tied them with regular ropes instead of energy restraints. They were being saved for some kind of secondary execution after Lisa died. Zethkari noticed Morrison was awake and walked over to kick him in the ribs. The captain grunted in pain, but did not cry out. The alien leader laughed and said something in his language that made the other soldiers chuckle. He wanted the Marines to watch their general die slowly and painfully as punishment for human crimes against the Corvani Empire. The distress beacon in Lisa's collar continued sending its silent signal into space. She could feel it vibrating slightly, against her neck every few seconds. The device was designed to transmit for up to 12 hours before the battery died. Admiral Kane would definitely have received the signal by now if he was still in the system. Lisa thought about her friend Robert Kane, who commanded the main fleet. They had served together for 15 years, fighting in 3 different wars. He was like a brother to her and would never abandon her to die alone. She knew he was probably already planning some kind of rescue mission, even if the odds were impossible. The alien ceremony began near midnight, with dozens of Corvani soldiers forming circles around the execution tree. They chanted in their harsh language while beating the ceremonial drums. The sound echoed through the forest, making the strange alien birds fly away in fear. Lisa felt the vibrations from the drums in her chest as the chanting grew louder. Zethkari brought out a curved blade covered in alien symbols. He held it up to the light from the communication array so the broadcast audience could see it clearly. The weapon was obviously ancient and had been used for many executions over the centuries. Dark stains covered the metal that could only be old blood from previous victims. The alien leader began speaking to the broadcast audience in his own language. Lisa could not understand the words, but his tone was proud and threatening. He gestured toward her with the blade while explaining something to his people. The cheering from the speakers grew louder as he described what would happen to her. Young alien soldiers came forward to throw more stones at Lisa's feet. They aimed carefully to avoid hitting her body, which would spoil the execution ceremony. Some spat strange alien substances that burned when they hit the ground. Others made threatening gestures with their claws while speaking insults in broken human language. Lisa maintained her dignity, despite the humiliation. She kept her back straight and her head high while staring defiantly at her captors. Years of military training had prepared her to resist torture and interrogation. She would not give these aliens the satisfaction of seeing her break down in fear. The ceremony continued for hours, with different groups of aliens taking turns to mock and threaten her. Some brought pictures of human colonies they planned to attack after her death. Others displayed weapons they would use to kill human families. They wanted her to know that her failure would lead to the deaths of innocent people. Zethkari returned, to stand directly in front of Lisa as dawn approached. He told her the execution would begin when the sun rose above the trees. The ceremony required her to die slowly while being broadcast live to both alien and human space. Her death would be the signal for the Corvani fleet to begin their attack on human worlds. The alien leader described how they would start by cutting small wounds that would bleed slowly. Then they would use hot metal to burn her skin while keeping her conscious. The final blow would not come until she had suffered for several hours. The broadcast would show humans across the galaxy what happened to their leaders who opposed the Corvani Empire. Lisa closed her eyes and tried to prepare herself for what was coming. She thought about her parents who had died when she was young and her brother who served on a distant human colony. She hoped Admiral Kane would warn the human worlds about the Corvani trap before it was too late. Her death would have meaning if it saved other human lives. The eastern sky began to show the first light of dawn through the tall trees. Birds started singing their morning songs, while alien drums continued their threatening rhythm. Zethkari checked his ceremonial blade one more time and nodded to his soldiers. The execution of General Lisa Martinez was about to begin. Lisa opened her eyes and looked up at the sky where stars were fading in the growing light. Somewhere up there, her fleet was hiding behind the moon waiting for orders. She sent a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening that her people would arrive in time to stop this madness. Admiral Robert Kane stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance staring at the communications console. The distress beacon signal had been coming in for 3 hours now. Lisa was alive, but in serious trouble on the planet's surface. He knew his friend well enough to know she would never activate the emergency beacon unless the situation was desperate. Kane had served with Lisa Martinez for 15 years. They had fought together in the Centauri War and the rebellion of the outer colonies. She had saved his life twice, and he had saved hers once. There was no question in his mind about what he had to do. The Corvani had made a fatal mistake by capturing his friend and commanding officer. The admiral called an emergency meeting of all ship captains in the fleet. 30 senior officers gathered in the main conference room within minutes. Kane explained the situation and showed them the beacon signal coming from Nexus Prime. The alien trap was obvious now, but they had to act quickly before it was too late to save Lisa. Captain Stephen Walsh commanded the assault ship Thunder and had trained extensively for ground rescue missions. He volunteered his ship and crew immediately. Captain Helen Torres of the destroyer Lightning offered to provide orbital support with her heavy weapons. One by one, every captain in the fleet stepped forward to join the rescue mission. Colonel Amy Patterson led the 42nd Marine Assault Division aboard the transport ship Warrior. She was famous throughout human space for impossible rescue operations. Her Marines had saved hundreds of soldiers from hopeless situations over the years. Patterson had trained specifically for hostage rescue and knew exactly what needed to be done. The colonel studied satellite images of Nexus Prime while her Marines prepared their equipment. The forest was dense with limited landing sites near the alien camp. The Corvani had chosen their position well with natural barriers on 3 sides. Any rescue attempt would face heavy resistance from well-positioned enemy forces. Patterson divided her forces into 3 assault teams. Alpha Team would be led by Lieutenant Brad Sullivan, who specialized in perimeter operations. Beta Team would follow Sergeant Kelly Brooks, who was an expert in communications and electronics. Charlie Team would go with Patterson herself for the direct assault on Lisa's position. Each team had 20 Marines with advanced combat armor and the latest human weapons. They carried rail rifles that could punch through alien energy shields and plasma grenades that would clear enemy positions. Special optical camouflage suits would help them move unseen through the dense forest. Kane ordered the fleet to move closer to Nexus Prime using the planet's magnetic field to hide their approach. The alien forces on the surface would not detect them until it was too late. 12 assault ships would carry the Marines down, while the main fleet stayed in orbit ready to provide support. The Admiral knew this rescue mission could start a war between humans and the Corvani Empire, but he also knew that abandoning Lisa would show weakness that would encourage other alien races to attack human colonies. Sometimes a leader had to make hard choices that would affect millions of lives. Patterson briefed her team leaders on the mission plan. They would land in 3 different locations around the alien camp and move in simultaneously. Alpha Team would secure the perimeter and prevent enemy escape. Beta Team would destroy alien communications to stop them from calling for reinforcements. Charlie Team would go straight for Lisa. The Marines loaded into their assault ships as the fleet approached the planet. Each soldier carried enough ammunition and equipment for a sustained firefight. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew they were fighting to save one of the best generals in human space. Lisa Martinez had never abandoned her people, and they would not abandon her. Lieutenant Sullivan checked his equipment one more time as his assault ship entered the atmosphere. His team was the youngest in the division, but they had trained harder than anyone else. Their job was to make sure no aliens escaped to warn other Corvani forces about the human attack. They would not fail their mission. Sergeant Brooks tested her electronic warfare gear as her ship descended toward the forest. Her team carried special devices that could jam alien communications and disable their energy weapons. They had studied Corvani technology for months preparing for this kind of operation. She was confident they could blind the enemy completely. Patterson loaded her sidearm and checked the assault plan one more time. Her team would have the hardest job fighting through the main alien force to reach Lisa. The colonel had led similar missions before, but never against an unknown alien enemy. She hoped human weapons would be effective against Corvani armor and shields. Admiral Kane watched the assault ships disappear into the planet's atmosphere on his main screen. He had sent 300 of his best Marines on a mission that might fail completely. If the Corvani were stronger than expected, his people could all die trying to save one person, but he knew Lisa would do the same thing for any of them. The fleet moved into position above the alien camp, ready to provide orbital bombardment if needed. Kane hoped it would not come to that because heavy weapons from space could kill Lisa, along with her captors. The rescue had to be precise and fast before the aliens could harm their prisoner. Captain Morrison regained consciousness as the first light of dawn appeared through the trees. His head throbbed from the energy blast, but his vision was clear. He could see Lisa tied to the ancient tree, surrounded by alien guards. The captain began working quietly to loosen the ropes binding his hands behind his back. The other surviving Marines were also awake and trying to free themselves. They had been trained to escape from enemy capture and would not give up easily. If they could break free at the right moment, they might be able to help in their own rescue. Morrison began signaling to his men using small movements they would recognize. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Kane received final confirmation that all assault teams had landed safely. The Marines were moving through the forest toward their target positions. In 20 minutes the attack would begin, and they would discover whether human courage could overcome alien treachery. Kane thought about his friend Lisa tied to that tree, facing execution. She had always been the bravest person he knew, and would face death with dignity. But if his plan worked, she would not have to die today. The Corvani were about to learn what happened when they threatened human lives. The human assault ships landed silently in 3 different clearings around the alien camp. Their engines used special quiet technology that made almost no sound. The ships touched down on the forest floor like giant metal birds settling on their nests. Within seconds, Marines were pouring out of the open hatches and disappearing into the thick trees. Colonel Patterson checked her watch as her boots hit the soft ground. They had exactly 18 minutes to reach their positions before the coordinated attack began. Her team moved through the forest like ghosts, using their optical camouflage to blend with the shadows. Years of training in jungle warfare made them nearly invisible among the tall trees. Lieutenant Sullivan led Alpha Team toward the northern edge of the alien camp. His Marines spread out in a wide line, maintaining radio silence. They communicated using hand signals and electronic whispers that only their helmets could detect. Each soldier knew exactly where to go and what to do when the shooting started. Alien camp was larger than the satellite images had shown. Over 70 Corvani soldiers were gathered around the execution tree, where General Martinez was bound. Guard towers with heavy weapons overlooked every approach route. Energy barriers crackled between the trees, creating deadly obstacles for any rescue attempt. Sergeant Brooks positioned her beta team near the alien communication array. The broadcast equipment was still sending live images of Lisa to Corvani worlds across the galaxy. Brooks set up her jamming devices carefully to avoid detection by enemy sensors. When the attack began, she would blind and deafen the aliens completely. Patterson studied the alien camp through her rifle scope from a ridge overlooking the clearing. She could see Lisa tied to the ancient tree surrounded by guards. The general looked hurt but alert as she watched her captors preparing for the execution ceremony. Zethkari stood near the communication screen, holding a curved ceremonial blade. The colonel counted enemy positions and marked priority targets for her Marines. The alien leader would be her personal target, while her soldiers dealt with the guards around Lisa. The attack had to be fast and precise to avoid hitting their own general in the crossfire. One mistake could kill the person they were trying to save. Alpha Team reached their positions around the camp perimeter. Sullivan's Marines lay hidden in the underbrush with clear fields of fire toward the alien escape routes. Their rail rifles were loaded with special ammunition designed to penetrate energy shields. Each Marine had selected specific targets and was ready to engage. Captain Morrison continued working on his ropes while pretending to be unconscious. His hands were almost free, but he needed a distraction to complete his escape. The other surviving Marines were also ready to act when the rescue attempt began. They would create chaos among the aliens to help their rescuers. Beta Team finished setting up their electronic warfare equipment in positions around the communication array. Brooks had devices that could jam alien radios and disable their energy weapons. Her Marines were also prepared to physically destroy the broadcast equipment to prevent the aliens from calling for help. Patterson received status reports from both team leaders through her helmet radio. All units were in position and ready to begin the assault. She looked at her watch and saw they had 2 minutes remaining before the attack commenced. The colonel took a deep breath and prepared to give the signal that would start the battle. Zethkari approached the execution tree, with his ceremonial blade raised high. The alien leader began speaking to the broadcast audience about the honor of killing a human general. He did not notice the small movements in the forest around his camp as human Marines prepared to strike. The morning sun climbed higher above the trees, casting long shadows across the clearing. Alien drums continued their threatening rhythm while soldiers gathered closer to watch the execution. None of them suspected that death was approaching silently from 3 different directions. Lieutenant Sullivan checked his rifle one more time and selected his first target. An alien guard captain stood near the communications array barking orders to his subordinates. The lieutenant would take him down with his opening shot to create maximum confusion among the enemy forces. Sergeant Brooks tested her jamming equipment and confirmed all systems were ready. When she activated the devices, the aliens would lose all electronic communications and most of their advanced weapons. Her Marines were positioned to destroy the physical equipment with explosive charges. Patterson aimed her rifle at Zethkari's center mass. The alien leader was the primary threat to General Martinez and had to be eliminated immediately. The colonel had made thousands of similar shots in combat and training. She would not miss when it mattered most. The sound of alien voices filled the clearing as more soldiers gathered for the execution ceremony. They were laughing and making jokes about weak humans who could not protect their own leaders. Soon they would learn how wrong they were about human determination and loyalty. Morrison finally freed his hands from the ropes and began working on the restraints around his feet. He moved very slowly to avoid attracting attention from the alien guards. His fellow Marines were also nearly free and ready to join the fight. They would prove that human soldiers never gave up. Patterson spoke quietly into her helmet radio, giving final instructions to both team leaders. The attack would begin in 30 seconds with a synchronized strike on all enemy positions. She reminded her Marines to watch their targets carefully to avoid hitting General Martinez in the crossfire. The colonel began counting down the final seconds as she maintained her aim on the alien leader. Around the camp, dozens of hidden Marines prepared to unleash human fury on the creatures who had dared to capture their general. The Corvani were about to face the full power of human military precision. Zethkari raised his blade above Lisa's head and began the final execution speech. He did not know that human eyes were watching him through rifle scopes from multiple directions. The alien commander was about to discover that capturing a human general was the worst mistake of his life. Patterson reached 0 on her countdown and whispered the attack order into her radio. All around the alien camp, human weapons began to speak with deadly voices. The rescue of General Martinez had begun, and nothing would stop the Marines from bringing their leader home. The first shot came from Corporal Danny Wright's rifle on the eastern ridge. The rail round traveled faster than sound and punched through an alien guard's energy shield like it was made of paper. The Corvani soldier dropped dead before the sound of the shot reached the clearing. A second guard fell an instant later as Wright worked his bolt-action rifle with deadly precision. Zethkari spun around in confusion as his guards began dying around him. The alien leader could not understand where the shots were coming from. The forest seemed empty, but death was striking from invisible positions. He raised his ceremonial blade higher and shouted orders in his harsh language, trying to rally his scattered forces. Colonel Patterson squeezed her trigger and watched Zethkari stumble backward as the rail round caught him in the shoulder. She had aimed for his chest, but the alien moved at the last second. The wound was not fatal, but it would slow him down and make him easier to capture. She immediately shifted her aim to the guards surrounding General Martinez. Sergeant Brooks activated her jamming equipment and watched the alien communication array spark and go dark. The broadcast to Corvani worlds cut off instantly, leaving alien audiences wondering what had happened to their execution ceremony. Her Marines threw explosive charges at the physical equipment, turning expensive alien technology into smoking wreckage. The guard towers erupted in flames as Lieutenant Sullivan's team hit them with rocket launchers. The heavy weapons that could have destroyed rescue ships were eliminated in the first seconds of the attack. Alien soldiers manning the towers died before they could return fire or warn other enemy forces. Lisa felt the energy ropes holding her to the tree suddenly go slack as the power systems failed. She immediately began working to free herself from the restraints while the battle raged around her. Energy bolts from alien weapons lit up the morning air, but most of them missed their invisible human targets. Captain Morrison burst free from his loosened ropes and tackled the nearest alien guard. The two fighters rolled across the ground, struggling for control of an energy rifle. Morrison used his combat training to break the alien's arm and grab the weapon. His fellow Marines were also fighting hand-to-hand with their captors. Patterson's team emerged from the forest, firing their weapons in controlled bursts. The optical camouflage made them look like moving shadows as they advanced on the alien positions. Rail rounds tore through enemy shields, and armor dropping Corvani soldiers with each shot. The aliens had never faced weapons this powerful before. Zethkari tried to escape toward the forest but found his path blocked by Alpha Team Marines. Lieutenant Sullivan stepped out from behind a tree with his rifle aimed at the alien leader's head. The wounded commander raised his hands in surrender, realizing he was trapped with no way out. The alien guards around the execution tree panicked as human Marines attacked from multiple directions. They had been trained to fight other aliens with similar weapons and tactics. The human assault was unlike anything they had experienced, with invisible soldiers using impossibly accurate weapons. Brooks led her team in a systematic destruction of all alien equipment in the camp. They used explosive charges to destroy vehicles and communication gear, while their jamming devices prevented the enemy from calling for help. Within minutes, the Corvani force was isolated and blind. Lisa finally freed herself from the energy ropes and rolled away from the tree as plasma bolts scorched the bark where she had been tied. Patterson reached her position and tossed her a sidearm while taking cover behind the massive trunk. Together, they coordinated the final phase of the assault on the remaining enemy positions. Morrison and his freed Marines provided covering fire as Patterson's team advanced through the camp. The surviving aliens were trapped in a deadly crossfire, with nowhere to run. Some threw down their weapons and surrendered, while others fought to the death rather than face capture. The battle lasted exactly 18 minutes from first shot to final surrender. When the smoke cleared, most of the Corvani force lay dead or wounded in the forest clearing. The few survivors knelt with their hands on their heads, surrounded by grim-faced human Marines. Zethkari bled from his shoulder wound but was still alive. Patterson ordered her medics to treat the wounded from both sides while her Marines secured the area. The rescue mission had succeeded with minimal human casualties. 3 Marines were wounded, but none seriously. The aliens had lost over 50 soldiers killed and another 20 captured. Lisa stood over Zethkari as the alien leader knelt in the dirt before her. Her uniform was torn and her wrists were burned, but her dignity remained intact. She spoke to him in his own language, which she had studied before the failed peace mission. The alien's yellow eyes widened in surprise at her knowledge. The general explained to Zethkari that humans never abandoned their own people. His trap had failed because he did not understand human loyalty and determination. The Corvani Empire had made a grave error in judgment by thinking they could humiliate and execute a human military leader without consequences. Morrison reported that the surviving members of his original escort were alive, but needed medical attention. The Marine captain's arm was broken, but he managed a weak salute when he saw his general was safe. His men had fought bravely despite being outnumbered and outgunned. Patterson contacted Admiral Kane to report mission success. The rescue had gone exactly according to plan with no major complications. General Martinez was safe, and the alien threat had been neutralized. Kane immediately ordered medical teams to the surface to treat the wounded. The forest clearing that had been prepared for an execution ceremony became a field hospital as human medics worked to save lives. They treated alien wounded with the same care as their own people, showing the difference between human and Corvani values. Some captured aliens seemed confused by this unexpected mercy. Lisa looked up at the sky where she knew Admiral Kane's fleet was waiting in orbit. Her friend had risked everything to save her from alien treachery. The rescue would send a clear message across the galaxy that humanity protected its own people no matter what the cost. Zethkari was loaded onto a medical transport along with the other wounded aliens. He would survive to face trial for his crimes against human forces. Lisa made sure he understood that his planned attack on human colonies would never happen. The Corvani Empire would pay for their deception. The execution tree still stood in the center of the clearing, marked with burn scars from energy weapons. Lisa touched the rough bark and thought about how close she had come to dying here. Thanks to human courage and loyalty, she would live to fight another day. The medical teams from Admiral Kane's fleet arrived 30 minutes after the battle ended. Human doctors and nurses swarmed the forest clearing, treating wounded soldiers from both sides. Advanced medical technology that the Corvani had never seen before was used to save alien lives alongside human ones. Some captured aliens watched in amazement as their former enemies worked to heal their injuries. General Lisa Martinez stood in the center of the clearing, directing rescue operations. Her torn uniform and burned wrists showed what she had endured, but her voice was strong and clear as she gave orders. Colonel Patterson's Marines maintained security while allowing medical personnel to move freely through the area. Seth Kari lay on a stretcher with human doctors working to repair his shoulder wound. The alien leader's yellow eyes followed Lisa as she walked past him. He seemed unable to believe that humans would save his life after everything he had done. The concept of mercy toward enemies was foreign to Corvani culture. Captain Morrison's broken arm was set in a medical cast while he reported the details of the alien ambush to Lisa. His 3 surviving Marines were also receiving treatment for their injuries. All of them would recover completely thanks to advanced human medical science. They had served with honor despite impossible odds. Lisa approached Seth Kari's stretcher and knelt beside the wounded alien commander. She spoke to him again in his own language, asking why the Corvani had chosen treachery over honest negotiation. The alien leader's response revealed the depth of his people's hatred for human expansion into their territory. The alien commander explained that the Corvani Empire saw humans as a disease spreading across the galaxy. Human colonies grew too fast and human technology advanced too quickly. The aliens believed that humanity would eventually consume all available resources, leaving nothing for other species. War was inevitable, so they had chosen to strike first. Lisa listened carefully to Seth Kari's words, understanding the fear that drove his people's actions. But fear did not justify deception and murder. The Corvani had chosen to break the most basic rules of diplomacy by attacking a peace delegation. They would face the consequences of that choice. Admiral Kane landed with the main medical team and embraced his old friend. The grizzled veteran had tears in his eyes as he saw Lisa alive and relatively unhurt. He had been prepared to wage war against the entire Corvani Empire to save her life. The successful rescue was the greatest victory of his long military career. Colonel Patterson gathered her Marines for a mission debrief while medical teams continued their work. The assault had been executed perfectly with minimal casualties on the human side. Her soldiers had proven once again that no force in the galaxy could match human determination when their people were threatened. Intelligence officers began questioning the captured aliens about Corvani military strength and planned attacks on human colonies. The prisoners were treated according to human military law with proper food and medical care. This generous treatment confused many aliens who expected torture and execution. Lisa studied the alien communication equipment that had been broadcasting her humiliation across Corvani space. The transmission had been cut off during the rescue, so alien audiences never saw the dramatic human victory. She decided to use the repaired equipment to send her own message to the Corvani Empire. The general activated the communication array and began speaking directly to Corvani leaders across their territory. She explained that their treacherous attack on a peace delegation had failed completely. Human forces had rescued their captured general and defeated a superior alien force in less than 20 minutes. Lisa's message was broadcast live to dozens of Corvani worlds as alien leaders watched in shock. She warned them that any future attacks on human colonies would be met with overwhelming force. The rescue operation demonstrated that humanity would never abandon their people, no matter where they were held captive. The captured equipment also revealed intelligence about Corvani fleet movements and planned attacks. Lisa forwarded this information immediately to human military command. The alien invasion could be stopped before it began now that their plans were exposed. Hundreds of thousands of human lives would be saved. Seth Kari was loaded onto a transport ship for medical treatment and interrogation. The alien leader would survive his wounds to face trial for war crimes. His testimony would provide valuable intelligence about Corvani military capabilities and strategic planning. Justice would be served through human courts. The surviving Corvani soldiers were also transported to human ships for medical care and processing. They would be held as prisoners of war until diplomatic negotiations could determine their fate. Lisa hoped some could be exchanged for human prisoners held by other alien forces. Captain Morrison insisted on walking to the transport ship despite his injuries. The brave Marine captain refused to be carried while his general walked beside him. His dedication to duty impressed even the alien prisoners who watched the evacuation. Human military discipline was unlike anything in their experience. The forest clearing began to empty as the last wounded soldiers were evacuated to the fleet medical ships. Cleanup crews removed alien equipment and weapons while leaving the ancient execution tree untouched. The massive trunk bore new scars from energy weapons but still stood as witness to human courage. Patterson's Marines were the last to leave the planet's surface after ensuring the area was secure. The colonel took one final look at the tree where General Martinez had nearly died. The successful rescue would become legendary among human forces as an example of what could be accomplished through training and determination. Admiral Kane stood, with Lisa on the bridge of the USS Vengeance as Nexus Prime fell away below them. The failed alien trap had become a human victory that would echo across the galaxy. Other alien races would think twice before threatening human personnel after seeing what happened to the Corvani. Lisa looked at the star charts showing human colony worlds that had been targeted for alien attack. Those innocent families would never know how close they had come to invasion and death. The intelligence gathered from captured Corvani forces would protect human space for years to come. The general's wrists still burned from the energy restraints, but the pain was nothing compared to her satisfaction at seeing justice served. Zethkari and his soldiers had learned that human mercy was not weakness. The rescue operation proved that humanity's greatest strength was their refusal to abandon their own people. News of the successful rescue spread quickly through human space, as fleet communications carried the story to every colony world. General Martinez became a symbol of human resilience, while Colonel Patterson's Marines were hailed as heroes. The galaxy had learned what happened when anyone threatened human lives. 3 months after the rescue on Nexus Prime, the story had spread to every corner of known space. Human colonies from the core worlds to the outer rim knew about General Martinez and the brave Marines who had saved her from alien execution. The tale grew with each telling, until it became legend among human military forces. The Corvani Empire formally surrendered to human demands within 6 weeks of the failed ambush. Their leaders had watched the rescue broadcast and realized they could not defeat an enemy that would risk everything to save a single person. The planned invasion of human colonies was canceled, and reparations were paid to families of the murdered Marines. Colonel Amy Patterson received the highest military honors human space could bestow. Her Marines were promoted and given choice assignments throughout the fleet. The 42nd Marine Assault Division became known as the Rescue Rangers, and their reputation spread to other alien species who heard the story of their impossible mission. Admiral Kane was appointed to the Human Defense Council, where he used intelligence from captured Corvani forces to strengthen colonial defenses. The alien battle plans revealed weaknesses in human security that were quickly addressed. No future alien attack would catch humanity unprepared again. Captain Morrison recovered completely from his injuries and was given command of General Martinez's personal guard unit. His courage during captivity had impressed his superiors and earned the respect of every Marine in the fleet. The 3 soldiers who survived with him became instructors at the military academy. General Martinez returned to active duty commanding the 7th Fleet, but her role had expanded beyond military operations. She became humanity's chief diplomat for first contact situations with new alien species. Her experience with Corvani treachery made her an expert in detecting deception during negotiations. The execution tree on Nexus Prime became an unofficial monument to human determination. Military units from across human space would visit the planet to see where their general had nearly died and been rescued. A small plaque was placed at the base of the tree describing the events that occurred there. Intelligence reports revealed that the Corvani rescue story had reached dozens of other alien civilizations. Some species were impressed by human loyalty, while others were frightened by the speed and precision of the rescue operation. The galaxy began to view humanity differently after seeing what they would do for their own people. Zethkari recovered from his wounds in a human prison facility, where he was treated with more dignity than he had shown his captives. The former alien commander eventually agreed to share intelligence about other hostile species in exchange for better conditions. His cooperation helped prevent several potential conflicts. The captured Corvani soldiers were eventually returned to their empire in exchange for guarantees of peaceful behavior. Many had been so impressed by human medical care and fair treatment that they became advocates for better relations between the species. They told other aliens about human honor and mercy. Military academies throughout human space began teaching the Nexus Prime rescue as a perfect example of rapid response operations. Student officers studied every aspect of the mission from planning to execution. The tactics used by Patterson's Marines became standard doctrine for hostage rescue situations. Lisa often thought about the 18 minutes that changed everything. The time from first shot to final surrender had demonstrated human military capability to the entire galaxy. More importantly, it had shown that humanity valued individual lives above political considerations. No human would be abandoned to alien enemies. The distress beacon technology that had saved Lisa's life was improved and installed in all human military equipment. Similar devices were given to diplomats and civilian leaders working in dangerous areas. The lessons learned from the Corvani trap would protect human lives for generations to come. Other alien species began requesting human military advisors to help train their own rescue forces. The techniques pioneered by Colonel Patterson's Marines were studied and copied throughout the galaxy. Humanity became known as the species that never left anyone behind, no matter what the odds. Trade agreements between humans and dozens of alien civilizations improved dramatically after the rescue. Story spread. Other species wanted to ally with people who showed such loyalty to their own kind. Human merchants found new markets opening as alien fear turned to respect. The annual Rescue Day celebration became a major holiday throughout human space. Children learned about General Martinez and the brave Marines who saved her. Military recruitment increased as young people were inspired by stories of human courage and determination. The legend encouraged the best values in human society. Lisa kept the torn uniform she had worn during her captivity as a reminder of how close she had come to death. The burn marks on the fabric showed where alien energy ropes had held her to the execution tree. She would never forget the sound of rail rifles firing as her people came to save her. Years later, when other alien species asked human diplomats about their greatest military victory, the answer was always the same. The most important battle humanity ever fought was not against a vast alien armada or for control of strategic resources. It was the 18-minute rescue of one person who would never be abandoned by her own people. The galaxy learned that day what human loyalty truly meant. No distance was too far, and no enemy too powerful when human lives were at stake. The message echoed through space and time, reaching every corner of known civilization. Humanity would protect its own no matter what the cost. The ancient tree on Nexus Prime still stands in its forest clearing. The scars from energy weapons have healed over, but the memory remains. Visitors come from across the galaxy to see where the legend began. They read the simple plaque that tells the story of the day the stars learned about human determination. The inscription reads, "Here, General Lisa Martinez was bound by alien enemies who thought humans were weak. Here, Colonel Amy Patterson and her Marines proved that no human is ever truly alone. Here, the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength is the promise to leave no one behind."